So another thing I want to make you all aware of, guys, can I gather everyone's attention with your headphones on? Brain? So Revit has these like weird things that it does where sometimes like it's trying to be really smart and it's making your job a little bit harder in doing so. So I just wanted to point out something that many of you, because I made a mistake last week when I aligned this wall to that grid line. Okay, so many of you made the same mistake just following along with me. All right, so what we need to do is just yank this wall back to the next grid line. Okay, not a problem. But the way we do that in Revit, where Revit is trying to be smart, is we can literally just click and drag it up and it'll lock to the outside. So that part is smart. So I grab this thing and I drag it back until it looks like it's locking to the outside face wall. Right? So I pull that back, and then what did you notice it did? It pulled the roof back with it, yeah. So what I want to show you is basically when we were set up like this, the roof actually looked, I think we started it here. I'm just going to do this kind of on the fly. So anyway, it looked like that, right? So the problem is I yank this thing back and the roof goes with it. And that's not what I want it to do. I want the roof to stay, and then I need to extend this run of the roof. Like this needs to stay here, and I want the backside to go. So unfortunately, the unsmart part of Revit is that no matter what I do, because of how I drew that roof is like tied to that wall in a way until you break its connection. The way you break its connection is you have to edit the footprint and pull that off a little bit, right? So that breaks the link between the wall and the roof. And then you go up and you adjust your wall. Whoops. I don't know what I did there. Adjust your wall. Now the roof doesn't go with it, and I can extend the top alignment of that roof element. Is that clear? Yeah, so go back. I'm going to go back here. In its current condition, right, it's attached to the wall. So grab the roof, edit the footprint of the roof or profile of the roof, and then just yank that roof edge off of the wall. Then you can move the wall back, and then you can edit the profile of the roof again to reconnect it with that wall, like that. The good thing is, I didn't have to measure a single thing that whole time. So that part is really smart. I could just kind of yank it up, like edit the profile, yank it down. Yank the wall up, edit the profile, yank the roof up, right? So I don't have to measure a single thing doing that. That was kind of cool. But it is a little annoying that I have to do that like 3-step process. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, there is one other thing that I want to show you guys. So profiles, like if I edit the profile of this roof, they're also pretty darn smart when you program them to be smart. So dimensions in Revit are extremely powerful. So notice how there's an 8'7" dimension from that grid line. I can actually create an 8'7" dimension in the profile and then leave it there, and then I can come back and edit it later. So I can say DI and select the grid, select the edge of my roof. Let me just make sure that's the correct dimension, 8'7". And then I'll hit check, and that dimension goes away. Right? But that dimension is still there. So if I go back in to edit the profile, that 8'7" dimension still exists. So, I mean, you can kind of program, like constraints and stuff around certain profiles. I'm not going there with you guys yet because it gets kind of silly sometimes. But yeah, question?
Couldn't that be a problem later when you forget that you're constraint dimension? So
It can.
If ever you want to edit that path, you have to remove that dimension or either change it from there.
You're right. It can get very, very annoying. But I'm sure you're noticing, most of you guys are probably noticing by now that Revit is like constantly bombarding you with these little messages. A lot of times those little messages are saying that if you move that thing, you're breaking a constraint or you have to unconstrain something. So if that's the case, it will give you a message, and you will have the option to either break the constraint or retain it, and you have to go back in and fix it later. So those are the kinds of things that it's really tough to teach that because it's so situational. But we'll encounter some issues like that at some point, I guarantee it.